I don't really understand how my regular sort of schlubby schmucky self with like an abandoned collagen bin in my pantry.
Not how I would describe you, but sure.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I'm not maxing anything, okay? I'm maxing my naps.
Welcome to Engagement Party. I'm Ari Shapiro.
And I'm Audie Cornish. This is the show that reverse engineers the internet in real time.
Shout out to Christopher Wiggins of The Advocate for that phrase. Thanks for telling us what our show is about
I
in
know.
a really eloquent, insightful
Well, we
way.
actually kind of need it because when we sat down together, all this time between us, we've talked about doing something together as news people.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to do something that felt fun, interesting, and engaged in all the stories
That are not the news.
that are not the news, but that we're all obsessed with.
Okay, and today, in this episode, we randomly have a lot of food, but also we're going to talk about a fever that may be sweeping the country this summer. We'll get to that in a moment. First, big question. Are we running out of protein? That was a question that The Atlantic recently posed.
How can we run out
And
of a
I
thing
have
that
a headline. Wait, I want to share my
Okay,
headline.
Okay.
No way. Get it?
The way,
W-H-E-Y.
like you cleared
Way.
both physical and psychological space for that joke. Like you're
Frankly-
saying, all the weird protein powders and things I have in my pantry that actually are dusty at the top.
Have you seen? Yeah.
Those are worth gold now.
Go to
I'm gonna put that on
right,
eBay.
Right. Go to any supermarket today and you will see everything from Pop-Tarts to mac and cheese to sodas,
Cookies.
which is using all of that whey. And as the demand for protein keeps growing, the amount of whey in the country remains flat. All of which tells me that this protein maxing thing has just absolutely gone too far. I think we have lost the plot.
Okay, I have something to this point.
Bring it.
Because the world of people who use a food scale, that Venn diagram is a circle with the cast of Love is Blind.
Your favorite show.
My favorite show. So, in one of the recent seasons, I'm going to show this to you. There was this guy who's making a protein shake for his beloved.
Sure.
It involved a blender. I'd like to say it involved fruits, vegetables, whole
Right.
foods, and it
Scoop
did.
of protein powder? No.
Technically, it involved chicken.
We're just gonna do 8
People-
ounces of chicken.
And how do you cook that chicken?
It's not cooked at all. I just bake it.
What?
Put a little packet of Crystal Light in,
What?
So much.
and we just blend it.
Yeah. Just like the sound of the blender.
I am.
You can,
Oh, I
the
can
color
smell it.
is the color
I can
of raw
smell
chicken.
it.
So that's like 350 calories and 55 grams of protein.
Boom,
Feel it.
boom.
Can we just?
Macros done.
Can we
Marriage
just-
not? Marriage a little less so.
Can
but
we-
those macros has been hit.
For Christ's sake, dip some carrots in hummus. Eat a handful of peanuts.
Now, in
Get
fairness-
a bag of beef jerky if that's your
internet
thing.
did
Don't
respond.
make a chicken smoothie.
The internet did respond, and I do think it's interesting to see. Like, first, these trends do feel like they have merit, food trends. You're like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should get this. That's interesting. Maybe I should look at that. And you feel like you're kind of educating yourself. And then when it sort of overtakes the feed, that's when you start to see these like little mini backlashes and memes and people making fun of it.
Okay.
It's because it's like it feels like propaganda at a
I'm sorry.
certain point.
If we're going to talk about the memes,
Oh, boy.
I have to reference
Okay.
another thing that makes me throw up in my mouth a little bit. the term boy kibble. Have you heard of boy kibble? No. It's just such a bad name for.
Not right.
Yeah,
I
and
didn't
yet,
say that.
and yet there are videos all over TikTok of people making what they call boy kibble. Basically, boy kibble is when you mix ground beef or ground turkey and brown rice and frozen peas or carrots or whatever,
Mostly brown
and you make
things.
a big
Yeah.
batch of whatever boy
See the
kibble,
motion you made?
yeah,
Like-
and then you just like eat it all week.
I think
for
one of the
boys.
things that's interesting is how this crosses the feeds, like how this crosses multiple communities. So yes, you have your dude bros macroing and protein, but then, outing myself, the sort of middle-aged lady perimenopause conversation, which is like getting us on the glide path to the menopause conversation, which is getting us on a glide path to the nursing home. But either way, it involves like so much maxing of things, protein, fiber, it's like really a lot of advice. I always thought like you took the protein and then you exercised, right?
Right, it's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing, but
it
we're
was
not
also-
all Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It was in combination that you got the benefits from it. And I don't really understand how my regular sort of schlubby, schmucky self with like an abandoned collagen, bin in my pantry.
Not how I would describe you, but sure.
Well, no, what I'm saying is I'm not maxing anything, okay? I'm maxing my naps. So for me to be doing protein, where's all that energy going? You know what I mean? Like,
I just
don't
feel
understand.
Listen, I had an English muffin with almond butter and banana for
Okay, with
breakfast.
the flexing.
I don't need protein in Pepsi.
But it's
I
not
don't need
for you. It's for
protein
people
in-
like me who are like, I'm not eating healthy at all. But if I eat one of these 25 chocolate bars, but some of
Add
them
protein.
have protein, then I've somehow gotten my nutrients for the day.
There's also an elephant in the room that we have to talk about. And when I say elephant, I mean obviously the GOP elephant of the Republican Party.
I was wondering where you were going
Yeah,
with this.
because RFK Jr., Health and Human Services
Yeah.
Secretary, has flipped the nutrition pyramid on its head. But it ties into this whole idea that the MAGA movement wants men to be men and women to be women. And men being men means eating steak and taking testosterone and protein maxing.
How did you make the leap? Why do you think that?
Well, because look at the avatars of the MAGA movement.
Yeah.
When you've got Mar-a-Lago face on the one hand, and you've got Pete Hegseth showing how many pull-ups he can do on the other hand, it almost makes me feel like protein maxing is a form of gender-affirming
See,
care.
I can't tell because, the Kardashians have given me protein popcorn. Like, it
Oh,
feels
are you
like
saying that entertainment and politics are bleeding into
I'm
each other?
just saying.
What a concept.
It is crossing the feed.
Absolutely.
To many constituencies.
Okay,
and,
but
yeah.
the backlash or alternative now to protein maxing is fiber maxing.
You fiber
and
insurgents.
Bean talk, like fiber is the
Don't
new
say
protein.
bean talk ever again.
Okay.
Ever
Which is worse?
again.
Which is worse, bean talk or boy kibble?
The thing is, beans are important.
I love a bean. I'm big
love a
into
bean.
legumes.
But again, do we have to max it? Like, does anyone want to be in a room with someone who has been maxing a lot of
Do I
beans?
need to tell you the downside of
don't.
fiber maxing?
Yeah.
There's a gummy worm that Trader Joe's has made, or a gummy candy. It's a gummy something or other that has, I think, 50% of your daily recommended fiber allowance. Can you guess what's happened to people who are eating these Trader
I
Joe's
don't want
gummies?
to.
No, you really, really don't.
See, in the past, we'd be like, this is a family show. You can't say that. And now I'm just like, don't.
I haven't said it. I think you can probably figure it out.
They taste pretty good, but you'll shit yourself. You'll shit your pants.
You can see how it can happen. All of a sudden.
You can see how you can shit your pants?
No, that's not how eating works. There's a step before the toilet. Stay with me. So you basically are trying to figure out how in the world do I get all of this food advice
Right.
into play? Like, how do I make it happen? And how do I cook without being the person who puts a chicken in a blender? And it feels like there's these two competing ideas. Eat real food, eat whole food, and hyper-processed, nutrient-dense, Soylent Green, which is people, which I don't want
Okay,
to eat. I don't want anything gummy.
How much do you think this is about people on GLP-1s who are eating differently because their body demands something different?
I think there's some truth to that because we know that the industry's making snacks like smaller.
Mm-hmm.
We know that apparently some doctors have been saying to their clients like, hey, if you're going to be on this GLP-1 and you don't want to lose muscle mass, you got to hit yo macros. If you think about the Atkins era, if you think about the paleo era,
The South Beach
and
era, we could go on and on.
We
and on.
always come back to this protein idea. And I think part of it is like you can measure it. You know what I mean? And it's something where you can add, right? Like it's easier to be like, I should have more bacon than it is to be like, take away the donuts. Like one is taking away.
Here's my other big thought about something you can measure. I think in this moment when it sometimes feels like the world is spinning out of control and there are big problems that we can't do anything about, measuring your protein intake, or frankly,
Yes.
measuring anything, is taking control of a small thing to distract yourself from the big things that are out of your control.
As a mom of two and everything.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about this.
It is hard, man, to be cooking and having the family night and like the planning, and it's
Wait.
a lot.
I know that having two kids, just getting food in bodies is a challenge.
Yes.
How much are you thinking about, are my kids getting the fiber they need? Are they
Yeah.
getting the protein they need? Like, is that in the forefront of your mind?
Especially if you have picky eaters. Now, luckily for children, they only eat chicken nuggets. So basically, they're good.
They're getting the
They're
protein.
max.
But like if you're going to give your kids Cheerios and you see a box of protein added
Absolutely
Cheerios,
not.
you're not getting the
Absolutely
protein
not.
added
Absolutely
Cheerios.
not. The way I do it, and this is not to shade the food industry, is I ask myself, at what age do you actually need these supports? They're not deficient in anything yet, they just
Right.
got here. So I don't need to max them with
Welcome to
anything.
the party, children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like they're still drinking whole milk. Like,
Yeah.
to me, they're already eating whole foods, and therefore I don't need to supplement them with nutrient-dense, hyper-processed food. The flip side is that because I'm a privileged parent with the salary that allows me to buy them fresh food every week? I don't know what that would look like if they had a childhood more similar to the one I had growing up.
I don't know. I go back to the most basic advice that Michael Pollan coined: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Or,
Okay.
as the nutritionist Marion Nestle often says, shop at the perimeter of the supermarket.
Just
Avoid
rattling
the
these off.
ultra-processed stuff.
Okay, fair. No, I appreciate you. Okay, now my turn.
Hit it.
All right, it's summer season. It's like time for people to buy tickets to
Yes.
shows and do things. And like, I happen to know someone who's a musician.
Who's that?
That's you.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Pink Martini, of
Right,
course.
right.
But it means you have been to a concert. You've been on
Yes.
stage. You've been on
Yeah.
both sides of this. Right now, there's this thing going around on the internet called Blue Dot Fever.
Oh, I've heard of this. Yeah.
Okay, so Blue Dot Fever is basically when you have an artist who suddenly cancels a run of shows because they can't sell tickets.
Because when you click on the map of the arena, it's all blue dots, unsold seats.
And then you see the unsold seats and you're like, well, I don't want to go to that show. Nobody's going. And then you don't go, and it's a vicious cycle down. And there's two things that have fascinated me about this is one, the economy. And if the music business is all about live experiences, people really wanting their bang for their buck and maybe being more discerning. But two, like this idea that the artists themselves have been attacking each other using
That's
the
an
blue
interesting
dot thing
wrinkle.
as like a slur.
Yeah.
This one is between Youngblood, up and comer, love it, obsessed, and Machine Gun Kelly, who I know as the father of one of Megan Fox's children. Fight me.
I don't know who Youngblood is. I need you to
What are we
fill me
doing
in here.
He's British. He's got like a very Steven Tyler, Aerosmith, era
Interesting.
mouth.
Oh,
Physical
mouth, not sound, not music,
Well,
but mouth.
he's got a powerful voice, and he was known. He had a big breakout moment performing at a show honoring Black Sabbath and doing the song Changes, which if you want to just have a moment to yourself and wonder what's going on, just hit play, go there, feel something. But the point is, he's an up and coming artist, but he adheres to the modern model of community building. Youngblood was talking about his fans, talking about the concert experience, and talking about shows and maybe why shows have to be canceled.
Live music has become inaccessible. That is a fact. And artists are cancelling all the time based on lack of ticket sales because it is an issue. It's completely unaffordable.
And Machine Gun Kelly, in a now deleted post, was sort of like, this is BS. This whole conversation you're having about your mental health or whatever doesn't mean anything. You didn't sell the tickets. You didn't make the cut. And it's interesting to hear artists even partaking in this conversation that I thought was a fan conversation.
I wonder how much promoters are just being greedy and putting people in spaces that are too big for their act.
Just
You know,
preach
like
it.
here in DC, 930 Club is the classic mid-size venue that every up-and-coming
Yeah.
band plays. I wonder if people are getting booked to play a stadium when they should be in the 930
the
Club, and they would have
question-
sold that out.
Artists out there, please hit us up in the comments. Are there fewer mid-sized places to play? Like, I'm kind of curious about whether or not these venues still exist.
Okay, here's the other thing, and this is what I can say from my experience touring with the band Pink Martini, is that costs of touring have skyrocketed.
Yes.
And so
No,
sometimes...
say the cost. The bus. The
Right,
fuel
the bus,
for the bus.
the hotels,
Yeah, all the
everything is
people.
like doubling, tripling in cost, and the fees are not going up. And so it might be that if you're playing a small to mid-sized venue, you are just not going to be able to turn a profit. And so unless you can fill the big
Yeah.
venues, I've heard artists say that the middle class of music is disappearing.
So true.
There was this article in Paste magazine a couple years ago that like the headline was that Kate Nash is going on OnlyFans, bearing her bum to fund her tour.
Yeah, we
But
have
it
to
talks
do a
about
whole show on that.
all of these artists
Yeah.
are saying, even people who like, I adore Caroline Polachek, hugely talented,
Great
successful,
example.
was saying
Yeah.
the costs of touring are prohibitive now. I just can't do it. And so I wonder if that's why some of these artists are being booked
And
in
where I
venues that are too big
see-
for them to fill.
Yes. And so, first of all, I think there are limits to clicks. Sorry. Clicks are not necessarily sales.
Oh, you mean people are getting booked in big places because they have big social media followings
I mean,
that don't translate to an audience?
I'm not going to call anyone out. That's not my job. I'm not an
Okay, just
artist,
whisper in
but
my ear.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that there's people out here who thought, especially some of these nostalgia acts.
Right. It's a lot of like millennial bands coming
Well, it's
back.
not just that. There's
Or
a
art-
maybe Springsteen can do it. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there are artists that really can carry that. Their catalog can carry that. But I think maybe we are witnessing some people hit the ceiling, nostalgia wise. And then for the younger artists, it's were they ever there in the first place, or was the social media hype as such? And then lastly, if you're not Beyonce or Taylor, what are you doing? You need to really entertain for the cost of these tickets. And I don't think it's an accident that you see someone like Harry Styles being like, residency,
Yeah.
like stay in one place, don't pay for a bus, don't pay for the bus driver, don't pay for the fuel, stay in one place for a handful of shows at a ticket price the market can bear, which is high.
We should also say music execs are pushing back hard on this whole narrative.
They are?
Yeah.
But
The
we
VP
have-
of Live Nation.
They're either blue dots
was-
or red dots.
Well, they were saying that this is about resellers because, of course,
Oh, yes, talk about this.
Ticketmaster, Live Nation are getting a lot of flack for ticket prices. In this economy, who can afford to pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a stadium show? They're saying, no, it's not us, it's the resellers.
And I think Live Nation, obviously in the industry and with fans, it gets a bad rep. It's the sort of boogeyman of the concert scene ever since it did battle with some bands like Pearl Jam, etc. But I have heard artists say, look, you guys want me to price the tickets fairly, low enough for you to attend. But then the resellers, ticket sellers come and they bump the price up way higher, and then someone pays it. So this gap is also creating a market, and that market is really hard to stop. But I do think people struggle with looking at a $500 ticket or a $700 ticket, and I don't blame them.
Okay, I want to end this topic on a high note. Because concert going is such an essential part of culture.
Well, it used to be.
Well, it used to be.
I'm just
Tell me
saying.
one of your iconic, unforgettable concert going experiences.
Oh, that's a good question.
First concert you ever attended?
Mine actually was, I forget where it was, but it was Erykah Badu. And I think that's
yeah.
a great example of an artist who like,
Was this like in the 90s?
yeah, well, settle down. I mean, it was like the late 90s. The very late 90s. But it was during that neo soul period. I know I
Yeah,
remain
yeah.
on brand. And she was an artist who like, they were breaking, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't the like most intense, biggest filling the stadium. I saw them in a nice normal size
Amazing.
Meadowlands type place. And it was great. And I got to learn who else was in the fandom. Like it was a really great experience. And I want like my kids to have that experience,
Yeah.
right? I don't want them to either be in the VIP section of a vintage act for $800 or the new alternative, which we are seeing, artists doing little tiny shows, boutique shows
yeah.
in nightclubs, bookstores, or A$AP Rocky did a hotel.
Yeah, but you have to be so lucky to catch one of those.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
If the whole point of the concert going experience is the word experience, what can artists give us right now? It's more experiences.
Okay, there's definitely something to be said for seeing somebody like Erykah Badu in an intimate venue that you will
Yeah.
never forget. But for me, one of the most iconic performances I've ever seen was just last year, 4th of July weekend, here in the DC area, Beyonce and the Cowboy Carter tour.
right.
Because not
Yes,
only is
well,
she one of the most
because,
talented living
yeah.
performers, but on 4th of July weekend,
Right.
to see that narrative about what America is and represents and what this country's history is
Yeah.
in this moment
Is an experience.
was so powerful.
Yeah.
Like it was entertaining and educational and moving and all of the things that you want a live experience of the arts to be.
Okay, I guess what this means is you are not going to perform in my backyard for an
For you,
intimate
for
setting
you,
of
I will,
people.
Audie. Just for you, and for the supporters of engagement party.
Yeah,
Click that.
exactly. Do we have tote bags yet?
Speaking of supporters of engagement party, it's time to open up the party where we get to hear what is in your feed, what you're engaged with, what you're obsessed with, what you need to unpack. And this week we have something from a dear friend of mine. Should we just play it and you can see who he is?
Yeah.
All right.
Ari and Audie, I'm in London and I've just heard of the news that people aren't eating bowls, going to those places and ordering bowls anymore so much. And I'm delighted. I
Alan.
hate bowls. I hate them. I hate those make your own bowls. I think, why don't you make me a bowl? And I hate that when you have to go in and you ask, there's all these options and you don't know which bit you've got to go next and the people are always so grumpy to you. I don't like it. I don't know why we can't go back to when we just bought things instead of us having to make them all the time. And then the people making us feel weird because we don't know all the things. I don't
Alan
like
has
it.
strong
I don't like
feelings
it.
about slop bowls.
And I'm glad that people aren't going so much. There, I've said it.
Of course, your friend and mine, Alan Cumming, Tony Emmy Award winner, host of The Traders, and clear enemy of the slop bowl.
Okay.
Responding to news that Kava, Sweet Green, Chipotle are all seeing declines in customer traffic.
Yes.
And yeah.
So two things.
bowl is
Sorry
out.
for calling it a slop.
Slop bowl.
But it's interesting because the thing he's saying he doesn't like about it, where he's like, why are you asking me so many questions?
yeah.
It was a selling point. It was customization.
Right.
Like, guess what? How much guac do you want?
Okay,
you know?
but I
And
was at
now-
LaGuardia Airport.
Okay.
I got a bowl that did not even have any meat in it, and it cost me $25.
How are you the only person who didn't order a protein bowl?
Oh, no, it had tofu in it. It had protein. It just didn't have meat in it. But the point is, part of the appeal of this thing was, yes, you can customize it. You
Yeah.
can make it your own. But another part of the appeal was you can go on a weekday lunch and not bust the bank.
Yeah,
and in
now-
this moment,
Yeah.
nobody wants to pay $25 for
Exactly.
a Tuesday
you can just
lunch.
fill that bowl up with green dollars and pretend it's a salad.
I mean, I hate to say that people are making boy kibble instead. But I'm afraid that may be the way
You
this is
doing
going.
a callback to boy kibble is
Just the
unexpected.
worst, the
Unexpected.
worst.
Anyway,
But people are cooking at home,
Yeah.
or they're going to a place like McDonald's,
or
where they
GLP-1s.
or-
You are
right.
not eating a giant bowl of anything.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an accident.
and
that we're
Alan is
also
really
seeing that.
happy about it.
Which for a while, I actually thought, post-pandemic economy thing. I thought so many of these downtowns had been sort of drained as people work
Mm-hmm.
from home that some of these businesses sort of like took a hit. And now I feel like it's a 1-2 punch. Like
Yeah.
the locations, the rents of where they are.
I mean,
what
it's
they're
like 1, 2,
doing.
3, 4. It's location. It's GLP-1s. It's cost. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's Alan's irritation at having to choose what he wants to
Because
go
he's
in
got
it.
the ick, as the kids say. He had a nose wrinkle there about the bowl.
I've frankly heard that rant for quite a while, so
Oh,
I'm glad
really?
that
You're
I'm glad he finally gets to celebrate, if not the demise, then the decline of the slop
just
bowl.
like seeing his face. He's so charming. He's so charming.
Okay, let's get off our screens.
Yes.
I think it's time for our weekly Touch
It's
Grass
let's
segment.
Just, we're closing up shop. We're closing up shop.
What you got this week, Audie?
Okay, well, my touch grass, it's like not mine, but I wanted to shout out the people who are doing it, which is, as we all know, Knicks Nation had a win over the Cavs. Shout out to New York. But
Good
my
job,
touch
guys.
grass moment is a shout out to Knicks fans, because there was this amazing story in the New York Times which showed that the team merch that they tried to give away by placing these t-shirts on seats got left behind because New Yorkers were just
Wait,
like,
why?
what?
But
Get out of here.
In this
And then-
economy, people don't want a free shirt.
they didn't want the free shirt. So there's just this amazing photo of like all of these shirts just sitting there. And I don't blame them because I've seen some pretty amazing Knicks gear. And also my favorite New York hat is where it's backwards. Shout out to whoever did that. But anyway, so my touch grass is the fans who went to the game for the experience. And didn't take the free t-shirts, which, let's face it, end up like in a landfill a year later anyway. And they said, I'm good. So that's my touch grass.
Are we moving away from the rampant accumulation of things we don't need?
But the point is, you very rarely see people. I mean, remember the t-shirt cannonball? It's like getting a free something is such a big deal that I just love New Yorkers saying, forget about it, and not
Yeah.
taking the free shirt.
Yeah, I no longer take the tote bags. I have enough tote bags.
That's a little different. Like that's
Okay.
because we're.
I was just trying to relate to a sports thing.
You cannot relate to a sports story with tote bag information. Like, what are you doing?
They don't have Knicks tote bags. I can't make a $50 donation to the Knicks and get a free tote bag.
Let us continue touching grass.
Okay, my touch grass this week. Audie, we're gonna stick with a food theme.
Okay.
You know, I come from a family of foragers.
I did not know that. But continue.
My parents would take us wild mushroom hunting when we were kids in Oregon. By the way, forage at your own risk. Don't eat anything that'll kill you. Have you ever heard of a Juneberry, also called a service berry?
I have actually heard of a service berry.
Have you ever tasted one?
No, even though they're at my house.
Guess what? There's
my
a service berry
gosh.
tree right by my house, like a block away, and
Wait,
I brought you some.
I'm picturing you just being like la di da di da.
Oh no, the people literally it's on the sidewalk and
okay.
people walk by and they stare at me like either what is wrong with you or are you gonna die from eating those? These are not poisonous for sure.
And I just have a
definitely not
moment where I'm like,
poisonous.
oh.
What do you think?
It's good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit like a more interesting blueberry, I think.
but a less interesting cranberry.
More interesting than a blueberry, less interesting than a
And
cranberry.
don't be coming at me,
The service berry
people. Okay, I don't want to hear about it. We all have our preferences.
No, I like them.
Yeah.
Put them
Do
in
you
yogurt
put
in the
'em in
morning.
anything?
I put them in yogurt. Oh, actually, no.
It's
okay.
protein.
A year ago, for the first time, I made a pavlova, and I used service berries, rhubarb, strawberries, mint, and it was. Audie, it was delicious. Audie, it's so nice to process things with you every single week, even if we're processing chicken smoothies.
Especially if you're bringing snacks.
Anytime.
I'm totally into that.
We want to hear what's in your feed, what you're obsessed with, what you're engaged with. So send us an email, make it a video that is like a minute or less,
Yeah.
engagementparty@cnn.com, and we may use it in an episode.
And in the meantime, we will see you next week.